Center. Okay. For the Princeton Avenue and Brunswick Circle Extension Roundabout project. To give you a background of the project, this started back in 2007. We have had a couple of public information centers. One was in May of 2008, another one in January of 2009, followed by a third one in 2017. 2019, which was a part of the preliminary design. We are currently in the final design stage and hope to complete it by the end of this year in 2022, and anticipate construction to begin in spring of 2023. We anticipate that it will take us about 9 months to a year to complete the construction. The effort in Mercer County is being led by a very talented young engineer here, Caitlin Skosipek. She is our highway and traffic engineer. If there are any specific questions, I will turn towards her for answers, but I just wanted to welcome all of you. Dan, it's yours, bud.
Thanks, Sonny. So just to kick off things, a little bit of housekeeping for understanding how to ask questions and comments for today's meeting. So if up to you if you'd like to choose through the chat box, or if you'd like to audio speak up and talk to us directly through your microphone or through your handheld phone. So you can place your comment or your question or comment in the chat box. And we can field those in the order they are received, or you can choose to raise your hand using the reaction button at the bottom, and or press *9 on your phone, and we'll get to you and unmute you. So that's just some housekeeping. Adam, you can go to the next slide. Another piece too, if you'd like to enable some closed captioning and follow along that way, you can select live transcript. And you can go to enable live transcript. And then if you'd like to enlarge your text, you can do so through the change settings, going to the bottom of your screen and select accessibility to change the live transcript text size on your slider bar. So a couple of little technical things for the Zoom meetings, but with that, I think we can move on. So you already heard from your county engineer, Sonny. He also mentioned Caitlin Skosipek, who's the principal engineer at Mercer County. We also wanted to mention John Kosa, who's the manager from the Office of Transportation Services at the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, who administers the federal funds for this project. Myself, I'm Dan Hutton with Urban Engineers, and I'm here today along with Justin DiBiase, who's a senior highway and traffic engineer, and Adam Brown, who's the project manager on the urban side. So with that, I'm gonna kick it to Adam, and I think we'll get into the meat and bones of the presentation.
Thanks, Dan. You can hear me, correct?
Correct.
All right, good. Thank you. Just to do a brief, go over the agenda real briefly. We're gonna do a little bit of a project background to show you how we got where we are today. Also, we're going to discuss the proposed improvements for this intersection. As you know from the title, we'll be featuring a roundabout for this intersection. We'll discuss some of the other improvements for pedestrians, the lighting improvements, drainage, landscaping. We're really going to focus some on the staging, just to show how this intersection will be constructed, what you can expect as far as any possible delays or any possible detours that may occur. Then we'll briefly go over the right-of-way, show you the schedule from this point moving forward, and also we'll take questions at the end. So just for some background, as Sonny had mentioned, back in 2008 and 2009, there was a broad study that was done at the Princeton Avenue Spruce Street study. Within that study, there were several public meetings that were held. There was also surveys given out at these meetings to solicit feedback from the public. That was back in April and May of 2008, and then in January 2009. From there, and then out of that study, there was recommendation for a road diet along Princeton Avenue, as well as a roundabout at the Princeton Avenue Brunswick Circle Extension intersection. Then moving forward to 2014 and 2015, the DVRPC has its Highway Safety Improvement Program, which gives federal funds to safety projects in the region, some specifically for roundabouts. So Mercer County proposed the roundabout design that came out of that initial study to DVRPC. Federal Highway and NJDT performed Highway Safety Manual crash reduction benefit to improvement analysis for that proposed improvement. And from that, it was deemed that the project could move forward, and it was advanced to the preliminary engineering stage, which brings us to how Urban got involved. We were selected as the engineer to design the proposed improvements. And as Sunny also mentioned, back in May of 2019, we had our first public info center, which was held at the Trenton Farmers Market. The purpose of that meeting was just to introduce the design to the public. There was also a survey provided at that meeting to get public feedback for the proposed design. This just goes over a brief timeline of the project process for the federal projects. As you can see, where we got involved first was from the consultant selection into preliminary engineering, data collection, initial design phase. That's where we held that initial public info center. Went through the environmental reviews, final design authorization, and that's kind of where we are now. We're in the final design phase, starting with the right-of-way, getting the PSD submission prepared to be submitted. And then again, as Sunny said, hopefully for construction authorization and begin construction next spring. So for this intersection, for the project purpose and need, as it was stated in the RFP, the proposal once we got it, the purpose is to improve safety and traffic operations at the intersection of Princeton Avenue and Brunswick Circle Extension with a focus on pedestrian and bicycle safety. The needs, there's a high frequency of sideswipe and encroachment crashes along Princeton Avenue in this area. There's difficult and dangerous northbound Princeton Avenue crossover maneuver, in this area here, which you're all familiar with. High-speed conflicts at intersection at nearby access points and unsignalized intersections, and there's very limited pedestrian and bicycle accommodations at this intersection. So one of the biggest questions that we get or comments that we get is, why roundabouts? I thought we were removing roundabouts. Well, the Federal Highway has identified a modern roundabout as a proven safety countermeasure for intersections. What they've done is with intersections throughout the country that roundabouts have been proposed for, they've looked at the difference in crash data prior to and then after when the roundabout was implemented. And what they found, over several years, across the country, is that when you compare a roundabout to a two-way stop-controlled intersection, there is a reduction in severe crashes of 82%. For signalized intersections, it's 78% reduction in severe crashes. A lot of that has to do with the amount of instances where two vehicles can meet or have conflict. So as you can see down here on the traditional intersection, there's several crossing points where cars could cross each other's paths, diverging and converging points throughout this intersection. As to the roundabout, where it's really only where you enter the roundabout and leave the roundabout. As you know, there's no left turns within a roundabout. Everything is to the right. So to make a left turn, you go to the right. So by removing those conflict points, you're preventing those instances from even ever happening. That's why there's such a great reduction in the amount of severe crashes that occur. Another big thing is, our modern roundabouts is different than traffic circles, because throughout New Jersey, you see traffic circles being removed, and all of a sudden we're putting back in these modern roundabouts, which a lot of people feel is the same thing. Well, just to show you a little bit of the differences, for modern roundabouts, it is yield on entry. You may notice across the state, where you've been in a traffic circle where the predominant move, so if it's a larger highway, they may have the right of way, and other vehicles entering that roundabout may have the yield. So there are times where you'll have cars yielding within the circulating roadway of the roundabout. With the modern roundabout approach, all vehicles within the circulating lane have the right of way. All vehicles entering the roundabout have to yield to those circulating within the roundabout. There's deflection on entry. So notice we'll have these splitter islands on all the approaches. And what that does is it makes the driver have to slow down. They physically can't just shoot through the roundabout at a high rate of speed. They have to slow down to navigate those deflections. Slow speeds reduce impact speed. So if there were something to occur within a roundabout, it would be very low speed, low impact crash. Slow circulating speeds, these are designed so the speeds range anywhere from 16 to 20 miles an hour. Obviously, again, slower moving vehicles through the roundabout itself helps decrease the severity of any crashes that may occur. Signing in pavement markings is very critical for the modern roundabout. You may be familiar with some traffic circles in this area or across the state where you may have several lanes of traffic and you're really not sure which lane you need to be in or where the lane you're in, where that goes, how to get out. So with these, it is very important to have your striping and signing. In this case, for the project that we're doing with this Brunswick Circle, or sorry, the Princeton Avenue Circle, it will be a single lane roundabout. So you're not going to have an instance where you pull up next to another car and you have to decide which lane you need to be in. There's one lane in, one lane out. So once you're in the lane, you can, go to your destination without having to change lanes or worry about changing lanes within the circulating lane. And also leading up to this intersection as well. I know in the existing condition coming from east on Princeton Avenue, you have the option of staying to your right to go towards the Brunswick Circle or staying to the left to cross over the extension to continue on Princeton Avenue. Well, that gets eliminated because all those movements are done from one lane. And they're also smaller in size. Again, that keeps, it's a reduced footprint. You can reduce the impervious pavement in the area. And then also the smaller size helps keep those speeds slower. That's why if you compare it to one like the Brunswick Circle, which is right, a couple hundred feet away, that's a much larger circle. So speeds are able to be obtained at higher rates than a much smaller size. Other features of a modern roundabout is the central island with the truck apron. That is designed so larger trucks, when they drive around with their front ends on the asphalt, the rear of the tractor trailer sometimes will trail over this truck apron, but it is not designed for smaller vehicles to travel on. There's going to be a small mountable curb that will be uncomfortable for them to actually go up on. So it restricts the smaller cars, again, to maintain those slow speeds, but also provides extra space for the larger turning vehicles to make their turns. As I said before, with the deflection on entry, we have these splitter islands on approaches. And as you can see on these splitter islands, you have pedestrian crosswalks. And they're set back, if you look where the yield bars are, or these little shark's teeth, as we call them, there's enough space for one car. So that way a car can come up and yield, pay attention to the traffic that it's trying to enter, but the pedestrians can cross in behind that vehicle, and any other cars that are queuing up will be able to see that pedestrian as they cross. Pedestrian accommodations, and there's also opportunities for landscaping within to beautify the center of this roundabout. So are modern roundabouts different than traffic circles? Yes, they are much different. They behave differently, they're sized differently. So yeah, they are not the same thing. And just some other benefits, again, because of the smaller size, the proper signing and striping, the slower speeds, you reduce the rate of crashes, the severity of those crashes, which could lead to injury or fatalities, reduction of speeds on approach and through the intersection. In the existing condition, the Princeton Avenue Brunswick Circle path is pretty much a straight shot, so you can carry high speeds through this intersection to the circle or back into the more downtown area, which, if people are stopped at a light, someone's carrying high speed, can cause people to slam on the brakes, but with this, maintaining that slow speed throughout the intersection, it'll help reduce those high speeds. Removing driver confusion, it's going to be only a single lane, so there's no, again, being confused on which lane to get into or how to navigate through. There's only one lane you can use. And it improves sight lines and sight distances. When roundabouts are designed appropriately, as you approach, you should be able to have a clear view of what's coming from your left, because that's where the only traffic is going to be coming from. It's going to be clear of any obstructions, signs, trees, anything like that. So for this, our project here, you see on this map, this is Princeton Avenue, the Brunswick Circle extension, the Brunswick Circle itself. This yellow area here shows the project footprint of where we're going to be proposing this roundabout. And like I mentioned before, out of that study, there was a road diet project that was proposed for Princeton Avenue, which will tie into our project. So it's a smooth transition all along Princeton Avenue into the roundabout itself. So as far as some proposed improvements that we're going to show, this is the existing condition as it is today. And this is an overlay of the roundabout, so you can kind of get an idea for, this area in here, which is currently where this one right turn can be made. That's almost where the central circle for this roundabout will be positioned. And the reason it's done this way is one of the things we try to do is to limit right away as much as we can, reduce environmental impacts. And after several iterations of going through, this was the ideal size and location for the roundabout to minimize all those impacts. Some of the things we're going to be adding, since pedestrian and bicycles was a focus of the safety issues for this intersection. As you can see here in this green area, it's a wider 8 to 10 foot multi-use path, so that can be utilized by both pedestrians and bicyclists. As a bicyclist approaches a roundabout, they have one of two options. They can either use a bicycle ramp, which we will have included in our design, where they can get off the roadway and onto the multi-use path while still riding their bike. And they can utilize the path to travel around the roundabout and then exit on the other side, where there will be the continuation of that bike lane. Or the bicyclist has the option to navigate the roundabout as a car would. So they would stay in their lane, they'd come up to the yield, they'd wait for their spot, and they travel through. So bicyclists do have the option of either. Most would use the multi-use path, but maybe some more experienced bicyclists are familiar with navigating with a vehicle would stay in its lane. And in the blue, you can see where we're having, these are tying into existing sidewalk in the area and then redoing the sidewalk along this north side. And on each leg, we have pedestrian crosswalks and a pedestrian refuge space. So when a pedestrian crosses, they can wait for their safe time to cross the other leg of the roundabout. Drainage improvements, we want to make sure with a proper design that the area will still drain appropriately. We don't want standing water. We don't want any ponding. So drainage features have been implemented into the design to make sure that that does not happen. It also helps with treatment of water, so it doesn't go straight into your drainage system. It'll go into some other facilities, which will help it infiltrate back into the soil before going into the drainage system. There will be lighting provided for this roundabout here in these green areas. These are all light standards. If you notice, there are several that are in front of these crosswalks, purpose being to light in advance of the crosswalk so that vehicles can see pedestrians who are waiting to cross or are in the crosswalk. And these are strategically placed such that the asphalt area is covered with enough lighting for you to see, so there are no dark spots, but it also takes into account any surrounding businesses or homes, because we don't want light shining in someone's front window in the middle of the night. So they're all specifically placed and situated such that that does not happen. And what I'm going to show you right now is a quick 2-minute video that'll just give you a feel for how the roundabout will behave with live traffic. We added there's going to be school buses, some tractor trailers. When it occurs, there's actually a bicyclist who will use that multi-use path and cross at the just more southern leg of the roundabout. So as vehicles approach, they'll be going the speed limit of the roadway, but as they approach, they'll be slowing down to 25 miles an hour, yielding upon entry, and then circulating at that 17 to 20, 25 miles an hour. If you can hear that, that's my dog, sorry. Tractor trailer entering, city bus. And as you can see right here, this little guy here is a bicyclist coming down, crossing over the lottery driveway, and prepare for his movement. Car will yield for him, comes across the splitter island, waits for that car to go, he waits, and goes across and completes his move. Pedestrian would do pretty much the same move, waiting for a gap, and then the vehicle, once he sees them, will allow the pedestrian to cross. And he spills back out on the other type, the bike lane. And just as a note, when we design these, the programs that we use the targeted construction day volumes. So what you're seeing here is a representation of what traffic would look like when it is constructed. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Justin DiBiase. He'll go over the traffic control for this project.
Thank you, Adam. As was stated, I'm going to discuss the staging, or how this thing is going to get built. There's 4 stages of construction. I'm going to just explain each one, what you can expect. Prior to going through each stage, I wanted to state that, with this design, we thought about implementing either a full detour or stage construction, so keeping traffic open. And it was important to the design team that we keep traffic flowing and keep it moving through here. It's a very important intersection with the circle and a lot of important arterials in the network. So the decision was made to stage construction. We have 4 stages of construction. I'll run through each of them. As you can see here, stage 1, the arrows basically show Princeton Ave going towards the Brunswick Circle, and then the extension coming out onto Brunswick southbound. All of the movements I wanted to stress here that are available in the existing condition will be there during construction for you, with a few tweaks of how these are executed, I'll say. So one being Princeton Ave southbound here, you can see during stage 1, there will be a stop condition as you need to merge with traffic coming from the extension. That's just a function of the geometry of traffic control. And also traffic on Princeton Ave northbound, instead of that movement where you would cross and continue north, traffic will now go down to the circle. Adam, if you could advance one slide, I could reference this. Traffic will go down through the circle, back up, and make that right turn to continue onto Princeton Avenue. We call that a displaced movement. So still able to occur, but just a little small, not detour, but a just different change there. So if you can go back to the previous slide, Adam. Like I said, all movements will be available. Sonny mentioned before, overall, this is going to be 10 to 12 months, we estimate. Stage 1 and stage 2 are going to be the major stages of construction. This one we have is 4 months. If you could advance to stage 2, go through that. Stage 2 is very similar to stage 1 as far as what you're going to experience driving through here. The movements will be similar to stage 1. We're going to be doing some more work on the top side of Princeton Avenue. We're going to shift traffic down there going south. That stop condition will go away that I mentioned previously. But you can see it's very similar as far as utilizing the Brunswick Circle for traffic. that wants to continue through on Princeton Avenue going north. Very similar to stage one, we're building pieces of the roundabout because of trying to keep traffic completely 100% open. This estimated duration is 3 months for stage two. If you go to the next slide, please. So in stage three, the roundabout starts to take shape. As you can see in the middle, parts of the curb has already been built. Some of the geometry that you'll go through will be through the future roundabout. One change I'll say is for Princeton Avenue southbound during stage three, you will yield upon entry to traffic coming from the circle, from the extension. Adam's showing that there. So we're starting to see the flow of a roundabout. It's basically going to yield on entry. But again, same concept as stages 1 and 2. The traffic movements are there. That right turn is still available for traffic that wants to go north on Princeton Avenue through. Another thing I wanted to mention, so in stages 3 and 4, we will have a truck detour in place because of the tightness of the construction zone, and that will be for larger tractor trailers for stages 3 and 4, just because of the geometry of how this is getting built, and as you can see, the circuitous route there. If you can go to the next slide, this just outlines the truck detour. So we'll be using Olden Avenue, Brunswick Avenue, the circle, and then 206. So it's not a long detour, but again, this is not for cars. This will just be for larger tractor trailers, just for stages 3 and 4. If you can go to the next slide, we'll go to stage 4. So this is the final putting the ribbon on the job. All the moves will be available. It will be functioning as a roundabout during this stage. You can see it'll be yield upon entry. What we'll be doing in this phase, the contractor will be doing is final signing, final pavement markings, the final asphalt course. Also, some of the curb lines that weren't able to be built in previous stages will be finalized here. So trying to piece together some of those tough areas that we were unable to get to. And all the movements again will be available. That one movement that we talked about from northbound Princeton Avenue that went around the Brunswick Circle will now be able to happen at this roundabout. So it'll be a functioning roundabout in stage 4, just with work still happening. And the truck detour will be in place for this stage as well because of the geometry I spoke of. That's it. So it'll be 4 stages, and now I will hand it back to Adam, who's going to discuss the right-of-way for the project. Thanks.
Thank you, Justin. And Justin, you can hear me, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to add for this, by implementing this design with the roundabout, one of the moves that you do not have today, but you will have an option to take, is coming down Princeton Avenue, entering the roundabout, and then going down to Brunswick Circle. Not sure how many people want to make that move, but it is now a move that is available to make. And also, just to reiterate, the reason why this construction duration is a bit longer is the county, especially wanted not to have the public impacted by having several detours. Intersection like this could be built a lot faster if you shut everything down and just construct circle. But again, with how crucial this intersection is to the surrounding area and the network, we wanted this to be able to be constructed safely while maintaining all the existing moves that are there today. So as far as right-of-way, like I'd mentioned earlier in the presentation, when you design any intersection or any project, you want to minimize impacts. One of the crucial ones is right-of-way. Right-of-way is a process that can take time, and obviously minimizing that will help out greatly. So for this project, we have 3 parcels that are impacted with right-of-way. One of them is a partial easement down here along Princeton Avenue, heading west. There's a drainage structure being put in, so some sidewalk had to be pushed back slightly, so it's just very minor sidewalk easement. And then the driveway for this lottery building had to be modified. Part of doing that is, as traffic, travels within the roundabout, you don't want to make it seem like continuing along into this driveway is the move to get to Brunswick Circle. Many, perhaps new drivers to the area, will not recognize that that is the driveway. So by changing that, it makes it more of a driveway feature. So cars will have to slow down and turn in, and not just, think that that's where they need to go. And then the final parcel here is a partial acquisition, which we've met with the property owner very early on in the design process. That was part of our process in placing the roundabout where it is. There was a discussed agreement that, whether they would be amicable to a portion of this parcel being utilized for the roundabout, which it was an amicable thing. And right now we're in that right-of-way phase where the negotiations will go on between the owner and the county. So just briefly, with a little bit of schedule moving forward, as we said, the right-of-way documents have been submitted. They've gone to NJDOT to do their review to make sure everything is okay with those, and then they'll go on to the negotiation process. Some ongoing tasks, we have the PS&E to local aid. Local aid has to look at this because this project will receive federal funding. So on their end, they want to make sure everything is good with environmental impacts, pedestrian and bicycle accommodations, going through the right-of-way acquisition process, submitting the final PS&E, which I've said, and then getting construction authorization. As Sunny mentioned in the very beginning of the presentation, we anticipate between 9 and 12 months for the construction, and the goal is to have construction begin spring of 2023. And that's it for me. I want to hand it back over to Dan, who'll go over some final housekeeping things.
Sure, thanks, Adam. Yeah, I put a little comment in the chat box. If there's any questions or comments, that chat box, you should see a chat little blurb on the bottom of your screen, and that will come to us, and we'll start answering them in the order in which they're received. Also, if you would rather speak, raise your hand using the reaction so we know who to unmute. And if you're on your phone, you can always press *9, which will do the same function through your phone. So those are just some instructions on how you can get in contact with us right now. If just to let you know ahead of time, and I'll be repeating this later, but if you don't have any questions now, or if you think of something later, this will be posted, a recording of this presentation will be posted on the county website. And there's also an email provided at the end of this presentation. So there's more information. The county has lines of communication, and this will all be made available to the public. So with that, checking to see if we have any comments or questions. I think the first one here is something I just covered here, but it's possible to get a copy of the presentation. So this presentation, like I said, it's recorded and it's going to be posted on the county website. At the link below on the screen, it's www.mercercounty.org/departments/planning/transportation-projects/BC Roundabout. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but that link is right on the screen. Feel free to visit that. That recording should be up shortly, within the next day or so.
Daniel, can I make a comment here?
Absolutely.
So this is Sunny, the county engineer. One of the things that we had tasked Urban with was that whatever movements there are today, same have to be provided during construction. It is our desire at the county to make sure that the traveling public, the residents, the businesses do not get affected by our work. We are not looking to displace anybody. We're not looking to make it more difficult than it has to be. Our business is not the easiest. Construction is inconvenient, and recognizing that, we wanted to make sure that all your traffic needs are met during construction. So that is one of the important salient features of this design. I believe there is a truck detour, but that's only for the tractor trailers. Is that correct, Daniel?
That's correct, Sonny, and it's just for stages 3 and 4, not the first 2 stages.
Okay, all right. So, we were trying to make sure that the folks that are using this area, I live in Ewing Township, so I use this area all the time, these roads. So it is important that, we don't miss any movements or make it more difficult for the residents and the businesses. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Sonny. And I just posted that link on the screen into the chat box. It's easier to grab that way. And also wanted to mention too, for any language needs, if there's someone that has any specific language needs outside of English, this presentation can be translated as well. A question here is probably for maybe Justin here. The truck and trailer traffic will be affected, be negatively affected, won't be good on Olden Avenue. I don't know if anyone has any comment on Olden Avenue, how the detour might affect the truck traffic there.
Yeah, so we have it on Olden Avenue. Again, it's not for the entire duration of construction. Stages 1 and 2 are going to be the majority of the construction. 3 and 4 is really when the roundabout is taking shape, and that's when the contractors need more room in there. But we did look at other routes in the area, and we selected Olden, and so it wouldn't be such a long detour route. So we believe that's going to work well, not well, as best as you can without. There's going to be inconvenience to the truck drivers through there, but yeah, that's what we have selected.
Great, thanks, Justin. I don't think I see any hands raised. And if you want to go back to that last slide. Again, if there's a thought or a question that comes up later, the presentation video will be up. And you can also reach out to Caitlin Skocipic with Mercer County, or emails provided there as well. Okay, well, hearing none, Sonny, I don't know if you have any final comments, or, oh, here's one. Brunswick Avenue parking, is that going to be a part of this project? Limiting Brunswick Avenue parking. Adam or Justin, do you know?
No, I don't believe
not-
it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what exactly Brunswick Avenue parking means.
I mean, part of this project, I guess there is a road diet project going on, but I don't know specifically if there is a Brunswick Avenue parking that is part of this project. Maybe planning knows something that we don't.
Okay, well,
We can find that answer.
Absolutely, I was just about to say, we have your email, and we can get back to you on that question.
Actually, Daniel, my recommendation would be to post it on the site, so that question and answers, everybody can read it. That way it's not, limited to any one person.
Right, good idea, thank you. Okay, well, we, on behalf of the county and urban engineers, we really appreciate everyone attending today. Further questions, information, chat box. That'll be the one-stop shop for all information on the county's website, as well as anything specific. The county is also available. Caitlin's email is provided. So we appreciate your attendance, and we look forward to seeing this roundabout, positively affect the area and then the traveling public. Sonny, do you have any closing thoughts?
I'm actually very excited about this project. I want to see this come to fruition. Hopefully the residents and the businesses in this area will see an improved safety and better flow. This is one of the areas that was found to have significant problems with the accidents. And like always, my desire is to leave the area better than I got it. Then this project should go a long ways towards it. I thank everyone for joining us today. And hopefully next time I speak to you or meet with you, it will be at the groundbreaking for this project. Thank you very much for joining us. Have an awesome day.